fake fortune telling,
The Gurometer was developed by Christopher Kavanagh and Matthew Brown. It's composed of 10 key characteristics of guruosity. What's a guru? Most people think of gurus as spiritual or religious thinkers, perhaps somebody like Deepak Chopra. But recently, it seems that secular public intellectuals or commentators are attracting devoted followings and are seen as having unique insights and special wisdom by their fans.
When we find ourselves at the source of all existence, then there is no choice other than being love.
They're often offering views that are contrary to the mainstream or institutions, sources like ABC or universities. They can appeal in a variety of ways. For example, they might challenge accepted wisdom around COVID or vaccines, or provide self-help, personal growth advice, or play to your political fears around globalism or social justice. I chose Anthony J. Leonardi, PhD, MS, PhD, T-cell differentiation, PS, MS, and PhD, because he's as secular as it gets, and he presents himself as a maverick scientist that can see the true pathology of COVID-19, where others cannot. Gurus often present themselves as fonts of wisdom. It is an all-encompassing kind of knowledge that tends to span multiple disciplines and topics. Their arguments often link together disparate concepts such as quantum mechanics, logic, and the nature of consciousness. A guru will often present themselves as a polymath who can offer novel insights with reference to many different fields. They will often allude to their own accomplishments and exaggerate them to a shameless degree.
Now, once it's doing that, just change the idea in your mind that instead of swinging it like that, it's going to start swinging like this in a different direction.
Oh my heavens.
Let the tweets begin. Just a bit more time until the new publication illuminates the T-cell reality, like Prometheus' fire. Some things, if I say them too clearly and too early, make the low insight become rabid. Now is the time the feed-forward quorum can be grasped. Anthony's area of expertise there is the T-cell. I am also an immunologist. Are immunologists better at virology than virologists? Probably, because they know more human physiology. Virologists know ... viruses. So Anthony knows immunology and virology better than virologists, probably. Oh, damn! Bernetti has such little scientific imagination, he doesn't see this. Or maybe I reviewed all the bat literature, and I am that well read. So he's also an expert in the bat literature. Just block FAS-AKT in vivo. Preserve that memory. Stop the pathological differentiation. Here Anthony gives us an original idea to stop COVID-19 pathology. That's great. The reason people looked for T-cell exhaustion in long COVID is because of hypothesis-driven science. I claimed T-cell exhaustion would occur, and indeed, it was later proven. And these happen to be the people who get long COVID. Bullseye! Gurus are not usually bona fide cult leaders. However, the social groups they cultivate, often with themselves positioned as intellectual leaders, can have some elements reminiscent of cultish dynamics. A key characteristic of cults is the establishment of clear in-group and out-group identities, primarily between the cult members, admirers, and outsiders.
Okay?
I didn't think I could do it. I was
See?
feeling a lot of pressure here.
Okay? Well, listen.
I can't believe it's doing it.
Yeah.
My followers are simply higher order people. Like Gaga's followers are little monsters, mine are woke Care Bears. I'm constantly pleased and impressed with the insight and values. Now how do we shape the future and wrest it from the malicious and incompetent? Wow, how can I join that group of higher order people? I'm going to be honest. I don't write for lay people. I write to motivate the people that can understand what I am writing, and to get them out of complacency. If you want a lay translation, ask Leonardi bot. A guru can seldom agree with the establishment because it is crucial to their appeal that they are offering unique insight, a fresh hot take that is not available elsewhere, and may be repressed or taboo. The guru's popularity will obviously benefit if this iconoclastic view happens to coincide with their prejudices or intuitions of their lay followers.
Now, this is amazing, because if you can do this with a string,
Right.
it means you can do it with your life.
However, this whole experience of opposing so many established people has made me think they are quite feeble. There are many examples of this. The predominant thinking is a complete distortion still. Thinking a virus spreads immunity rather than disease. Wait till they acknowledge it spreads susceptibility to other viruses. I've been soul searching and have realized something. Henceforth, I would like to be referred to as Galileo Galilei by Zeynep and Bill Hanaj. Why? I stood against the field on Twitter and was correct. And they said this would only happen if I was Galileo. Gurus will sometimes rely on narratives of grievance pertaining to themselves and their potential followers in order to drive engagement. After all, a worldview in which all is essentially fair and just is not one that will encourage people to search for alternative ways in which to view the world.
Up yours, woke moralists. We'll see who cancels who.
I don't have a lab, nor am I funded. My publications are self-funded. I have lab access, but any work I do I have to pay for out of pocket. This is because the lab that was going to do and pay for naive T-cell work was spooked by someone threatening an op-ed on me. I wrote a paper claiming the immune system would keep exerting harm to organs on reinfection in 2020. She disparaged it and me. Looks like the epidemiological dolphins have come home to roost. Articles like this ignore the decompensation I published about in 2020 and 2022. Why? To tell people they can decompensate according to their immune system phenotypes would be inconvenient. Because I do not have a lab and am only a student, I get attacked so wildly for saying T cells are 1. Harmed, I was right, and 2. Driving pathology. When will we evaluate claims by substance, not hierarchy? I remember when I claimed T-cell memory was not helping long ago, before we let it rip, and I was attacked, and people like JLJ Colorado said I was wrong, and it did not make sense. Probably due to allegiances with Zeynep. I will not stop rubbing the T-cell evangelicals' noses in it. It is almost impossible to be a guru without having a sense of grandiosity and inflated idea of one's self-importance. The role of being a guru involves cultivating praise and attention, and demands a certain level of charisma and charm. Another trait of narcissists is a belief in one's uniqueness, and that only special people can appreciate them. It is therefore not surprising that one tends to see other narcissistic traits in gurus, such as having very thin skin when it comes to criticism, or expecting that the world should be recognizing one's talents far more than it does. Our tentative hypothesis is that narcissism is the key personality trait of gurus. I have an agenda, sorry to say. The preservation of the health of the people I know. When society, and the people who should know better, act like fools, set bad policy as it pertains to. Whatever. I have no problem remaining peerless with my clear warnings of attenuated responses to other viruses. Top-down analysis is silly. Just use the mechanisms of the pathogen, if you can understand them. Their heightened insight gives them a superior ability to predict the future, and they will enjoy dwelling on those instances in which they made purportedly correct prediction, obviously not mentioning or acknowledging the times when they got it wrong. I warned about reinfections and the harm to the immune system as an immunologist. Apparently some virologists can't read the tea leaves. When I read that paper in the Lancet in Jan, I was floored. I went straight to my hospital and told several clinicians. Connected with their narcissism and worthiness of being a guru, they are greatly attracted to claiming that they have developed game-changing and paradigm-shifting intellectual products. This is, in a sense, the credentials and the resume of a guru.
Just keep that idea in your mind. You see, your expectancy determines outcome. And as long as you're not attached to the outcome will be guaranteed.
Okay.
I discovered the mechanism of T-cell differentiation. And he says that again. He found the mechanism. Now, what could he mean by the T-cell differentiation? Cell differentiation, the process during which young, immature cells take on individual characteristics and reach their mature, specialized form and function. The problem is there can't be one T-cell differentiation mechanism because there are so many different kinds of T-cells. Here I'm showing a map of development and differentiation of a number of different kinds of T-cells. So I looked up his publication to find out what kind of T-cell differentiation he worked on. His publication is on precocious differentiation, in the process of what's called adoptive transfer, where you want to take the T cells out of a person's body, fiddle with them, and then put them back in as a treatment. The problem is when you pull these cells out, they don't just freeze for you. Sometimes they differentiate, and you don't want that to happen. So to describe this as he alone finding the mechanism of T cell differentiation is a wee bit self-aggrandizing. I don't know if his paper is revolutionary or not, but it's certainly not as revolutionary as he makes it sound on Twitter. This is their core business, their stock in trade. It is typified by language that is cognitively easy to process, superficially appears to be something profound, but upon analysis turns out to be trite, meaningless, contradictory, or tautological.
And this is living proof that every cell in your body is eavesdropping on your internal dialogue.
Anthony's pseudo-profundity manifests itself quite often with tweets like this one, where he says, I have been saying and writing there is no immunity since Jan 2020 after I saw the Lancet paper out of Wuhan. Now, first off, it's not clear what he means by no immunity. Does he mean zero? There's no immunity at all? There's plenty out there to read about immunity to COVID-19. And here's the paper he was referring to, titled Clinical Features of Patients Infected with 2019 Novel Coronavirus in Wuhan, China. They look at a cohort of 41 patients with COVID-19. Most of the patients have severe illness. So when Leonardi says no immunity, it sounds like he's saying something generally true about the virus. Perhaps this would happen in every infection. But the paper he's using is a study of severely ill people. And lots of things can happen in severe illness that don't happen in a mild infection. You can't look at the immunological characteristics of severely ill people and presume it's happening in not severely ill people. So that claim is both vague and it's making a huge logical leap. And he even admits that he made the claim before he actually had any evidence to do so. Conspiracy theorists require a suppressive network to explain away the lack of evidential support and why almost nobody else is willing or able to accept their theories. Gurus are the subject to the same dilemma. Their reasoning will be intricate but subject to massive reaches, and they will disregard simpler or more conventional alternative explanations. They are trying to bury unprecedented immunological changes in a mass grave of functional neurological disorder. Most of the planet will have immunological dysfunction from COVID. We are entering total information control. We have sources on the right claiming this is a safe route to endemnicity, and sources on the left, like Zeynep, that call me a crank for warning about severe reinfections, T-cell harm, and T-cell mediated harm. Her specialty in field is information control, not physical sciences. Let me introduce you to SARS-CoV-2, a virus which harms your immune system. This was obvious from work on lymphocyte lions, which could have easily been done with primary cells 2 years ago, likely suppressed because it was politically a problem. As for profiteering, I can readily locate his Substack, where he has hundreds of paid subscribers. Profiteering is defined as an excessive or unfair profit. You may have noticed by now that Leonardi falls into a pattern where he misrepresents the conclusions of a scientific study, typically in a fear-mongering direction, typically promoting the idea that he alone can read the tea leaves and see the true harm coming from COVID. He's not honest about why other immunologists completely disagree with him. So I don't think his business practice is honest or fair, and I think he is a profiteer. He's taking advantage of people's justified concerns about a dangerous and deadly virus, and he's cynically stoking those fears, and now he's cashing in on it, so I think he is profiteering. Now you might criticize this video and say, hey, you focused only on the negative things. I mainly had to search through his voluminous tweets via keyword search, I undoubtedly missed a lot of his better qualities. Maybe he's funny or something, I don't know. I hope I've provided enough explanation and context for you to judge for yourself. And I'm asking, please don't use this as an excuse to go be mean to Leonardi or anything. I think we should do as Professor Jean here says and use his terrible tweets as inspiration for learning.